I've asked Fred to shortly come up here with me on the podium, if you don't mind, because you've seen some of the speakers and some of the stuff, but
Yeah.
Fred is a well-known facility manager from the Netherlands, and you can tell people a little bit about that. But I'd like you to give a little feedback on what you've heard.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, my name's Fred Kloet, being active in getting the users of the workplaces heard in what they need from information management, from architects, from all the people that are engineers and designing our world of work. So I was listening to that from that perspective to everybody. And luckily I know some of the people and the projects as well, so I'm able to place it in time, let's put it like that. And I made some notes. And what you did very well is going all the way from design to this huge use, like with Nicholas and with HERE Technologies. And HERE Technologies was really about pragmatic thinking. There's already something there, so take care of that first before designing anything and get any fancy architect do something new. I like that very much. And yeah, with Nicholas, what I liked very much is making things tangible, putting a sticker on it. Have attention for quality instead of just doing something new. Yeah. With the European Union, there's still something to do. When I look at the use phase, yes, I know, coming from facility management, we always experience a very strong lobby from the construction sector, from people renting out real estate. And there's not a strong lobby from people like users and renters. For example, we have a European Space and Area Measurement Standard, an EN standard, which is not used a lot because the people that rent out buildings don't want to have the transparency. Yeah? And the transparency is where we play a bit. So I think it's good to have something like the Edge, and we should all be very happy with setting the example, because it has been a very good example. But we have to let go of the Edge now. I think move forward, and everybody will agree with that. So we need the European Union, for example, to let that construction and project developers and real estate lobby go, and go for the real people at the cities indeed. I think that's a very good one, the cities. But then do not talk to the real estate people at the cities, but try to talk to the HR people at the cities and ask them, what would Nicholas call a quality workplace environment? So not a built environment, but a workplace environment. And that's also, yeah, you're half American, and that's why I can say that. I loved the bullshit at the end. I loved it, and I hope that at the drink that these guys will ask him, come on, what do you mean by bullshit? Because I think AI, you managed to get all the...
Weave it in there.
Yes, and maybe one for the end, to give my perspective from FM. There were 2 or 3 speakers using the word ontology. And I would really recommend everybody to study that word, what it really means, ontology, because we need interoperability. And interoperability between all of these, like law, regulations, what's already out there, and use that, a certification, setting the example, and doing some check and balances, as using a popular term these days. So try and implement an ontology, and then we as users of the AI and built environment, will be very happy.
Fred, thank you
Thank you.
very much. Fred, for your audience feedback participation, I'm presenting you with a fresh book, which is one of the ones by some of the guys in the smart building area.
Yeah.
And it's about in-betweeners, the people who are necessary to connect the technology with the use. Thank you, Fred, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, over to me. He's funny. Okay, let's go. So you scanned the code. I can see already 11 people scanned, 4 sent in questions, so there's more to come. If you want to address a specific speaker, please put it in the question so it's easier for me to find out who you mean. And I would just start by asking the first question, and I'm thinking this goes to all of you. What are some of the key metrics organizations should use when it comes to smart buildings? Who feels obliged to answer this? The key metrics organizations should use when it comes to smart buildings.
I'll take it just because everyone else is looking at me. The one that I feel gets a lot of value, obviously, energy is a very good starting point, but space analytics, actually how people move around a building, how they use space. Again, as I said during the talk earlier, a lot of the work we do at HereWorks is in buildings with lots of people in them, so office buildings, universities. So they really only exist for for one reason, and that's to house the people. It may be slightly different in warehousing or industrial facilities, but really how people use the space, identifying human behavior, because that, if we get that bit right, it will actually have a knock-on effect then to energy as well, because naturally then you're switching off things. You're doing what Eric always wants to do and shut down floors. And like Eric, we've talked about it in a lot of buildings, but we've never actually managed to, there's always been an excuse for not doing it. But again, with the data there, it's possible to do it and convince the stakeholders around the organization that it's possible.
Yeah, at least it's designed for everything is for humans. We heard this today at some point, so I think that makes perfect sense. Well, this one is a huge one. We could talk about it like today, tomorrow. How to make AI sustainable? Anyone a short answer to that? I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, that will happen by itself. So I totally understand all these people who are now worried about the energy consumptions in the data centers. But let's be honest, first of all, data centers are much more efficient than everybody doing its own thing. That's the reason why we built those things. So in the past, we all had our own computing capability, a huge overshoot just to handle the peaks. Data centers don't do that. You can, whatever you think of the Microsofts and the Amazons and all of those guys, they are working day and night to make this as efficient as possible because it's important to them. On the other hand, we see, I don't know, I think I have like 100 digital newsletters every day in my mailbox, and I'm totally surprised every single day about how much innovations are done to get this right. So eventually we will get it right and it won't consume as much energy as it does today.
Well, it's interesting, yes.
Can I add also something? Because really data centers, they are more effective and companies, they take care, not everybody. So we need also monitoring, so the reporting system to take care and to promote innovation and specific innovation. In some areas, data centers can be used for heating of cities. In other areas, they need to address water stress. So really also to find specific places, specific problems, and to address it. And we need to address also efficiency of algorithms. So there are many aspects, and we need to work on them. And again, in this area, the Commission tries to provide guidance and to work with companies in order to make data centers and AI use more sustainable.
So there was one addition. NVIDIA already closed down one of their AI solutions because it's burning more energy than they can ever make with it. I think that will happen because we go through the hype and then we will get... I have a different view. I think there are two hypes. One is a technical hype, which I think with AI is different than many of the other hypes we've seen. But there's also the economic hype, and the economic hype is a bubble. This can't last for long, so people will switch off stuff. And then there was this, I forgot the name of the company who was doing a lot of 3D together with Microsoft on buildings, also shut down. So I think that will, stabilize very quickly, because at the end of this day, these guys have to make money.
It just doesn't make sense right now. They have to make it more efficient. Otherwise, there will be a crash.
Well, so there's a way towards that. That's a good sign from here. I have an interesting question. Do you see a future where an AI agent can control a building? Oh, everybody does. Mostly. Okay. Who wants to
Is it happening
jump in?
already? Yeah.
So the future is close. It's very close. Okay.
So that's not a dream or anyone else who answers that. That's just happening.
Okay. Maybe just 1 or 2 minutes. How exactly does this go? Well, obviously, it's not.
Well, that's
known.
exactly what the statement I tried to make about you need to have all the data and across. So there's a lot of agents already doing particular things in a building, optimize the heat pump or whatever. But this is all about the whole building. And so what we now see happening is there are, by the way, a couple of examples online, but that you get the data out of the building, and then across all of that data you have your algorithms, and then an agent will take care of it.
I think probably where the opportunity is, Eric, is actually to have the disparate systems, the agents actually speaking to each other, and that's you're seeing. The name of the concept escapes me now, but it's the equivalent to REST API for. What am I thinking of for?
Model context protocol, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Which will basically make it so easy for each system to just go and talk like they're talking to a colleague. And I think that's probably the next iteration of this.
But doesn't that cause a lot of risk when two agents talk to each other? They can then make up their own rules. And there's been some good examples of this where they've been doing this in, was in the product development process. I can't remember the company. They built an agent to basically, it's for marketing campaigns. They built an agent to generate a number of marketing campaigns. They built another agent to actually vet those marketing campaigns because there was too many to make them better. They let the agents talk to each other. The agents worked together to figure out how both can win, and the numbers went straight back up again. So like agents talking to each other can be very dangerous.
Yeah, and then they start blackmailing each other and doing deals with the utility company. So it's not without risk, but it's definitely the way things are heading.
I mean, there are already, at least in the Netherlands, I'm sure here as well in the rest of the world, AI agents that buy energy for the building. So you have a dynamic contract, and based on data and experience, the system knows how much energy it will need in the next couple of days based on weather and number of people in the building, and just starts buying energy. And that's real. There's one platform I worked on for an energy company, and it's going quite well.
Something about cybersecurity, since we haven't heard that so often here. What are the important cybersecurity measures that must be taken when integrating AI with smart buildings? This topic had to come. So, important cybersecurity measures that must be taken.
Well, I mean, I think it was touched on in both of these presentations with HereWorks and with Ubel, and it's, having the converged network makes it easier, I guess, to do that, but then to put a system all around it to make sure that nothing can be penetrated. And what we've seen is the risk of not doing that, right? We had a building in the U.S. that was taken for hostage, and they put an AI agent on it and said, hey, just turn this building off as long as it's possible until they pay the ransom. And they had that building off for 6 months. They couldn't get that thing back on. So it's, the risks are real, and I think it's really important to take it seriously. And hiring the experts to do that is also a huge step in that process.
Yeah, and if you think of AI, it's hard to conceptualize the damage AI could do, but if you think of the damage a human could do, and you think of access control and how you actually secure your network, it's the same concept for API. What are you going to allow it access to? So the access rules, the VLANs, the ongoing monitoring and vulnerability scanning of devices themselves to make sure that actually there's no potential backdoor to the devices, so that bad code can't be ran on that devices. But again, it's a lot of it's down to access control and only giving control where needed, because the AI itself, it can absolutely go rogue, but you need to nail down that access control.
Okay, and then we have Europe-US comparison. Can Europe compete with US in AI models? How can we make European companies more competitive? Everybody knows ChatGPT, few know Legit from Mistral.
That's quite a difficult question. So definitely we are trying to do that, to have a really integrated framework. So AI Continent, AI Act, also to address safety issues and human-centric use of AI, and also to have support to gigafactories, AI factories. So that is something that we can do. But I think that we cannot not match investment by largest US companies. So maybe there are some niche markets like buildings, industry. I say that we can lead on AI for climate action. So really some specific areas where we have good research, startup companies working in this area, and we could lead. But like large scale investment, I think that it's impossible to match.
I'm going to apologize to Bob first before I do this, because he might not like my response. This is the one thing that, okay, I moved back from Singapore. I'd spent 15 years in Asia Pac. I came back here 2 years ago. It drives me up a wall that everybody always wants to compare Europe to the US. You're missing the point. If you want to go after the more real quick innovation, who's transformed their entire economies, look at what's been going on in the Middle East, and look what they were able to do with AI when they were building the Falcon model. The amount of investment those governments have put in, what they've been able to do, how they've redone their entire education system to gear towards it. They brought in the expats to build out things like NEOM. Those guys are all going home now, but they fast-tracked their society in a matter of years. If you look at what goes on in Korea, in Singapore where I was living, these are the people you really should be watching. China, Jesus, they're so far ahead. I mean, just don't even bother. Like, the US won't catch China, much less any of us. But it is, start looking for other people to compare yourself against, because in the meantime, you're going to be leapfrogged by a lot of these other regions that are just innovation hubs. This isn't an innovation hub, I'm sorry to say. It was Singapore for a long time. Singapore screwed up around the pandemic. It shifted to the Middle East. Now, because of the current situation in the world, that innovation hub is looking for another home. Silicon Valley is always the one, but there's always somewhere else where money goes and follows. It's going to leave the Middle East now. I'm betting it goes back to Singapore, but who knows, maybe it's somewhere else. But start looking the other direction as well. There's a lot of learnings that you can do, and you don't have to try to compete with the way the US has done it.
I think it's also about making your business climate open for business for these different companies to partake, because I think those American companies, they're not per se only for America, right? They're actually global companies that you can tap into, and I think like him, hate him, the Trump administration, what he's done very well is he's made that American companies. He put a finger on it and he called it his own. But before him, it was a much more open space. So I think it's about making the business environment open for the best players to help us out. We need.
It's open, but I think you've hit the nail on the head, and both of you, because I mean, looking at China, I was reading recently the story behind BYD, the car company, and it just blew my mind the scale that they got to. But it was all backed by obviously the Chinese government, and one would have to question then. You say, right, look what Trump's doing with the technology companies. Should the EU be doing the same with a niche, and really investing hard and saying we are going to be the leaders at A, B, and C? And that's exactly what China did, and it's exactly what Trump is doing.
I want to add something else in China, because what China does better than anywhere else in the world, and what the Middle East has copied, is China does a 5-year plan. That means, I don't think the governments are as active in these companies as you think. There's some involvement, but what China does when they set their 5-year plan, they take supply, demand, regulatory, investment, and they say we're going here. They don't waste time going, we want Sigfox, we want LoRa, we want NB-IoT. They say, we're going NB-IoT. Supply and demand both know it. You build products because you know they're going to buy it, and they're not going to waste your time trying to figure out which one you do. They set a direction. That doesn't work in a consensus environment within Europe like this. It'll be a very tough thing to do.
Yeah,
Maybe, like from history, I was originally born in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
We had also 5 years plan, but it went to the bankruptcy. So not always communist plans, they work on long term. And what I would like to highlight, there are some positive examples in Europe already. In Sweden, around Stockholm, there are many AI companies, and we have some kind of promise with AI factories and providing also startup access to computing power to train their algorithms, really to help them and to be at the best, like in the specific areas, and mainly industry. That is something that still Europe is very strong. Also, when I speak with Chinese, they think that in industry, Europe is still much better than China.
I think
not in everything, but definitely still, yes.
I think we cannot blame the Chinese for having a vision and a strategy. Yeah. And that's what Europe doesn't have and the Americans don't have. The Americans have money. When I worked at Deloitte, we did large projects, and I was running those projects, and always if it failed in the US, they told me, Eric, we will pull open a can of people and money and we'll get it fixed. And that's how but they do have a homogeneous market. And the problem is, I think, we underestimate what's happening in Europe in a lot of things. There's more patents coming out of Europe in AI than any other place in the world. The 2 top professors in the world are in the Amsterdam VU University. They write all the textbooks about AI coming from them. So it's not that we don't know, but we don't have a homogeneous market. That's obviously the European Union could theoretically solve it. I'm not betting on it. And the other thing is money. In the US, throwing 5 or 10 billion at nobody cares. Here in the European Union, for example, with this whole cloud debate, the European Union now has made 3 billion available for European clouds. The extension of the Microsoft data center, one of the 7 in the Netherlands, in Middenmeer, which is up north, is 7 billion alone for the building. So when I talk to politicians in the Netherlands, I tell them, yeah, but we got 3 billion. Yeah, now you're going to fight how to, spread the money amongst different countries in Europe. That's not going to happen. I think we better hope that this guy in Washington is gone in November.
Yeah.
What we should do is do something similar to what Singapore has done. So Singapore didn't want data centers inside of its property because they're ugly. Not in my backyard, right? So they signed up a special economic zone and created a whole area in JB, anyway, right across. As far as you can see, it's all data centers now. It's created a massive boom for the Malaysian economy in the southern part there. It gives Singapore an offshore, and it's not on their own land, so it's their neighbor's land. So maybe it isn't like, who do you partner with where you can start having a more efficient strategy for driving this stuff going forward?
Unfortunately, it's by the #1 slave driver in the world. Unfortunately, it's done by the #1 slave driver in the world, Jeff Bezos.
Let's not go there.
No.
Okay, gentlemen. One last question, because this session got really long and I think everybody desperately needs a coffee. But let me throw that last one in. At what point, and I like the question because it's specific, at what point does retrofit simply become too expensive compared to starting fresh?
It's a very open-ended question and answer. At what point?
You can be specific. You can be open. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an example. Like we're involved, we're part of a bigger group, that's a construction group, that does a lot of actually deep energy retrofits into public buildings in particular. And to be honest with you, from a physical construction point of view, there is a point, like, I mean, we've been in buildings, universities, where we've re-roofed, we re-windowed, we've put in heat pumps, we've put in solar, we've done massive construction overhauls to the building. And there was one, and I won't mention the university in particular, they decided actually they were going to do all this, but they weren't going to upgrade the windows. And there was curtain walling, so there was large facades of glass. So you see this kind of tick box exercise for actually I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get maybe a certificate because it'll actually give me a building energy rating of, B3 on paper, but the reality is very different. And that's really where I think the novel approach to technology can actually change, right? What is the building spending now? Because a lot of these certifications are based on design intent. But what's the actual building spending now? And how could we reduce that using just novel technologies rather than going really, really heavy into ticking all the boxes that some of the energy performance directives require? Answer that in a roundabout way, but to be honest with you, I think technology is the novel answer to that question.
So, but is it a subjective answer, like a different answer for every building? So is it something that you can say, okay, it's a general, here stops and there it goes, but you have to look at every building itself to really
I think so, and if the building is in good standing quality, has been around for 100 years and is from a structural point of view is sound, well then I think we should be looking to not have to do major works to it. If it's falling apart, it needs to go. It's not safe. It's not going to last another 30 years. But if it is, I think then the more novel approach is required.
You wanted to add something?
No, I think he hit it. I think there's a lot of really great tools out there as well for, stranded asset lines and, doing the ROI calculations for it. And I think there's an ethical question to it as well, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, should we rip down things and build them for a more sustainable building when that building actually has already a carbon footprint on it, and we shouldn't, discount that completely. So I think we need to also think about the world we want to live in as far as historic buildings, these types of things. And living in Europe, we have beautiful cities with beautiful buildings. That's not necessarily the case in all parts of the world, so it's going to vary per city as well, I think.
Perfect note to end this conversation with. So I say thank you all very much for your time and your insights. Thank you all for your questions.